All the action packed in 180 minutes. Power Breakfast with Tessa Dooms. Weekdays 6 to 9 a.m.
The time is 7:53 on Power Breakfast this morning with Tessa Dooms. On the line with us, we have Ariella Scher, Head of Legal Unit at Open Secrets. Ariella, Open Secrets has decided to take into the legal system an accountability mechanism for the NPA and the Hawks. And your charge here is that they have not sufficiently, or perhaps at all, looked at the investigations that came out of the Zondo Commission, particularly as it relates to PRASA.
Hi, Tessa. Yes, thanks so much for having us on. Yes, what we've done is we've taken the Hawks and the NPA acts on review because we're alleging that not only the Zondo Commission, but also a Public Protector report and an Auditor General report have suggested that there was sufficient wrongdoing in two contracts at PRASA, the Passenger Rail Agency, that there should be really deep investigations and probable prosecutions of the persons implicated. And we're saying not that the NPA and the Hawks haven't done anything, but that it's just taking them too long. It's been 10 years since the criminal complaints were lodged, and the investigations aren't finalized, and there's no decision on prosecution.
What kind of legal remedy are you seeking here? Because I'm assuming that you're not seeking some kind of criminal, remedy, criminalizing their behavior. So what remedy do you think can come out of this proceeding?
Yes, so it's not a criminal remedy. What we're saying is that the Constitution imposes really important duties on the Hawks and the NPA as the main institutions in our criminal justice system. And we're saying that in this particular PRASA case, we don't see that they're fulfilling those duties. So we're saying that the extended delays are unlawful, and we're taking them on review.
And so, what are you hoping will be the court's judgment on, and what would it enforce? Because I worry about cases like this. I think back to the SASA case, for example, around the former Minister of Social Development, where the case was won in terms of saying that the minister should have behaved differently, but then the minister didn't behave differently afterwards. Are you not worried that you may get perhaps a favorable verdict, but not any change of behavior?
Yes, of course, that's always a risk, but this is the mechanism that is afforded to us by our legal system. And for us, it's really important to make sure both that the criminal justice institutions are held accountable, but also the court case that we've, the basis that we've taken them on requires that they'll both, the Hawks and the NPA, will have to explain to the court and so to the broader public what is the reason for these delays. And that through that explanation, there'll also be an understanding and then an assessment, which we hope would lead to accountability.
Ariella, have you pursued the parliamentary route as yet? I mean, on this show, we've been talking a lot about parliament and its underutilization, both from us as the public and from political parties. But particularly the Zondo Commission was very scathing at Parliament and Parliament's oversight function not being used to the full extent. Do you not think that Parliament might be a first, point of access here in terms of the accountability with the NPA?
Yes, we would always agree with that, and litigation should and always is a very last resort. But in this case, since the criminal complaints were laid, as I said, over 10 years ago, we've scraped through all of the reporting by both the Hawks and the NPA to Parliament, which is their oversight mechanism. And there just hasn't been sufficient explanation for the delays. Also, through, as I said, the Public Protector, the Auditor General, and the Zondo Commission, all three of those have found that there's a really good basis for investigation and prosecution here. And in light of the delays, we do feel that Parliament has performed its job, but that the necessary step is litigation here.
All right, so I'm still a bit sketchy, as you might tell, about whether litigation will actually open the taps here and get the work done. Do you believe that there might be some reasons behind the NPA and the Hawks not doing this work that you're trying to particularly get to the heart to? Are there some hypotheses, as it were, that you have already?
Yes, and you can see that in our papers. I mean, we know that both the Hawks and the NPA have often, their heads have mentioned that they have capacity constraints, they have skills constraints, they have funding constraints. But for us in this case, none of those should ever be sufficient to allow them to take this long for a case that is this important and where we feel that the evidence is so overwhelming. You know, before the Zondo Commission, the head of the Hawks said that there's two matters involved here. He said that one of the matters was 70% investigation completed, and one of them was 90%. That's over 4 years ago. So it doesn't take 10 and 30% of an investigation. It shouldn't take more than 4 years to complete. So we think it's important to be skeptical about litigation and again, not always run to the courts. But for us, this really is a matter that's ripe for a court hearing.
And if the NPA does just proceed with the kinds of reasonings they've given in terms of capacity or budget, what would give you leverage to be able to say, well, that is insufficient? How do you then move from that point further? Because you are saying here that you do think there are other things at play.
Yes, well, for us, the court would have to balance up any excuses that the NPA and the Hawks bring with the level of delay here. A 10-year delay where we again have three separate bodies saying that this case is ripe for investigation and possible prosecution. We think that the delay would outweigh any of the excuses or any of the bases for the delay, and that in the end, their conduct would be unlawful.
So this week we spoke to the MK party. They are calling for Shamila Batoy to actually step down or be sacked by the president. Would you join a call like that?
No, this for us isn't about individuals. It's about the system. It's not, in this case, it's not one person who's in charge of across two institutions, so not only the NPA but also the Hawks. It's not one person. There needs to be good leadership from the top, but across the board there also needs to be from the investigating officers, from the prosecutors. There needs to be proper conduct and performance of their duties.
Well, thank you so much, Ariella, for giving us a sense of what Open Secrets is putting on the table here before the courts. The NPA under scrutiny, and I think it should be under scrutiny in terms of its ability to perform, but we'll see if this legal route bears the kind of fruit I think you and other civil society organizations hopes it does. That's Ariella Scher, head of legal unit at Open Secrets. The time is 8 o'clock now, time for the news.